I just want to add this very technical log. So if this isn't your thing, basically just trying to program a prototype, then just skip to the next entry. But if you're interested in it, then that's awesome. So I've been thinking about how to structure this. So what I'm trying, like I said, what I'm trying to prototype, how do we take a string and then actually add all the spans, which will render the underlines? Because if there were no overlaps, super simple. Find occurrences of the substring, append the spans to it or replace it with the spans. Boom, there you go. However, this has to be done recursively. And what we can do is we can think of this kind of like a height map, is what I was thinking. So essentially, we are going to have the string, and what we need to do is that at some point we need to find the string. I think if we're doing it like in JavaScript, I know that there's problems with like code points and things like that. Okay, so this is Future Gen cutting myself off here. I was actually a bit confused. I've looked into it now, so I was thinking of code units, not code points. But also, it's not really a problem for what we're trying to accomplish here. The reason why I thought that it worked that way was because I was thinking of like emoji serial with joiner characters, where, for example, if we see the student one, if we want woman students, if you copy this, it actually combines woman and the graduation camp. So if we open the console here and we paste it here, let me spread this out. Let's paste this here. You'll see here that it looks like two characters, right? There are two different like emojis, but they're joined. So if you were to do this dot length, you're actually going to get 5. That's what they meant by code units. However, it's not super relevant, because if we try to do, for example, if we try to do this, it's going to tell us that it's at 0. It still is going to find it no matter what, because even though these characters take up multiple code units, it's still going to treat it like a normal substring. So it doesn't really matter. The only possible thing could be if there's like chained serial with joiners, where if you're just trying to find like graduation cap or something. I'm not really going to worry about that. I don't think there's that many like conflicts where that's going to happen, and I don't even think it's an issue with a lot of Unicode characters. So it should be fine to just keep going on the same train of track that I'm on. I have a piece of paper here, but it doesn't really tell you much at all, which is why I'm still continuing to pick it up. But basically, we're going to have the string, and we're going to do a scan where we're going to have an array for our markers, okay? And a marker is going to be defined as a starting index and ending index. So we're going to look through our list of keys, and we're going to find occurrences of that substring where the key occurs as a substring of the source string. We're going to add a marker saying the starting point and the ending point. We're not modifying the string, we're just adding that marker. Then we're going to sort those by marker length, which is just the ending point minus the starting point. So once we have the marker length, we're going to have an array. Strings are basically arrays, so we're going to have an array where one entry, or like the size of the array, is going to be the number of code points or the length of the string. And it's going to be a height map, so by default everything is going to be initialized as 0. But then we start to look through the markers, and whenever there's a marker, we're going to look at the starting point, the ending point, and we're going to, at the starting point, we're going to append, or we're going to update the value in our height map by 1, and do so for all indexes until we reach the end. So for example, So let's say that, the height map should now be a bunch of zeros. So now let's say we have, a marker over here. This is going to be the longest marker. So first, let me just create my array of keys that we might encounter here. So this is my array of keys. We're going to run into trouble with, or we're going to need to add special cases. And by this, I mean that the words like I and the words A shows up in am, but it seems a bit redundant to add definition or highlight the A in am. That just seems unnecessary because it's not helpful. So we will eventually need to add some type of flag to make it to detect that there's white space around that word, and if there isn't, then we cannot add a marker for it. But for now, here's a set of keys, and I'm going to manually create these markers. Actually, I can probably just, I'm just gonna write the code for the prototype. All right, so this isn't perfect, but now I can go ahead and do like for let I equals 0. Basically, since we're starting at 0 and it's going to end the source string, we're going to find occurrences of this. Starting from the source string, that'll give us the index. So we have the key and we have I. We probably shouldn't have named it I. But this is going to give us the index. So then, if index is not equal to -1, because that's the base case that it's just not there. I'm not sure if base case is the right word. Let's see. Yeah, it should return -1 if it doesn't exist. Okay, cool. So then if it's not -1, that means we found the index. And we know the start, we know the endpoint. So let me just define an interface for a marker. All right, that's fairly simple. And we actually need an array of markers. So we push a marker, and also for the purposes of this, we need to actually lowercase the source string. But at some point, we're going to want to add the whole white spacing thing. So for now, we can just apply a simple lowercase, and then we're going to have to complicate it a little bit, but we're going to leave that for the future work. Okay, so now we've inserted the marker, but we need to increment I. So I plus equals index or key dot length. Okay, cool. And this should work to some degree. So wow, there's 28 markers. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna have a marker for hello there. We're gonna have a marker for hello. We're gonna have a marker for there. And for some reason, there's 2 markers for there. We probably should do something if the index is 0. So else continue. Oh, break. Sorry, not continue. Because we want to break out of the inner for loop. Let's see. Okay, we still, what? Okay, why would we want, why are there 2 things starting at there? That doesn't make sense. All right, let's just walk through this logic line by line. So the first key is hello there, and we have the source string. Let's see, so index turns out to be 0. That makes sense. So we're going to push 0, and we're going to push key dot index plus key dot length. which should be 11. And that's right, we have 11 now. And we've done I plus key dot length. So now I is going to equal 11. Although over here it equals, wait, what? Let I equal 0. Okay. Oh, one thing is we shouldn't be doing I plus plus. We just need to be doing a while loop. Like, what if when we check for hello there, we require there to be a space, a comma, a period, or a colon, or a semicolon, like a punctuation mark or white space after the end of it, or it can be like if it's the last, or if it's the end of the document. Then you add the marker. We're gonna have two variables, valid start, valid end. Okay, here we go. So if valid start and valid end, then we push the marker. And so as we discussed, a valid start is going to be, so if I equals 0, then valid start equals true, or, and in this case that we're testing for is substring has white space before it. So, and we shouldn't need to check for any punctuation marks or things like that, because you really should be adding spaces between your commas. Maybe we can support that at some point, but I don't want to, like, would that break acronyms? I'm not sure. I'm not gonna think about that for now. But I minus 1 equals empty space or white space. Okay, there we go. We need to define what start and end of the markers actually is. So start is before the index. End, I suppose, is also before the end of the index. That kind of makes it difficult, or that makes us have an extra check. So we should just subtract 1. If this doesn't make exact sense, consider the string I am a. And let's say we're checking for a. Then I am a, that's 4 letters plus 2 white space. So that's going to be length of 6. Okay. A, its index is going to be 5. Why can't I do this? Okay. The index is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. Okay. So we're going to, and so it's going to be 5 plus 1 minus 1. That's just going to be 5 because it's starting at 5 and it's ending after 5. So I like this. So we need to update this actually. Okay, there we go. We're using start index. So for valid, and we're going to do if the ending index is the last index, basically. Minus 1. I'm going to be off by 1 here probably. But let's see. I think it makes sense if it's minus 1. And I'll comment that out. So we can kind of like test this out a little bit. Also, we shouldn't be doing I. We need to be doing a while loop. Right. So the key is hello there. The source string is hello there. And it's saying that the index is 0. That makes sense. So then it says that valid start is true. Wait, no, it's an array? What? Why do you think it's an array? Markers true. What? Alright, something's, don't worry about that. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm just going to restart this. That's a bit odd. There we go. Okay. So valid start is true. Valid end is true. Then we can test out that if we add an H here, it should say valid end is false. Colon. One downside is that we're going to have to add whitelists for like Chinese colons, Chinese period marks, and commas, and stuff for different languages. That's an acceptable trade-off. We just need to add those marks because like there's a limited amount of punctuation marks in Unicode. It's going to be, it's not the best solution, but it works. Or I am a. Okay, let's see what happens here. So we're going to have the key of am, and we're going to get valid start, but valid false because this is index of 2, so that's going to be am. Wait, the key is am, but valid end is false. We forgot to whitelist a space, a white space. And all right, so we reran it, adding an empty space to the whitelist, and what we see is that it's going to add that marker for am index 2 and 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3, there we go. So we would add the marker before to after 3. Next, we're going to have the key am, and wait, what? Are you gonna enter it again? What? Oh, did we just forget to have the I plus equals the key dot length? Sorry. I equals index or end index plus 1. Perfect. So our markers for this are at am and a. I don't know why I didn't get added. It's because I have I capitalized. All right, there we go. But this logic is sound for now. We put back a more complicated string, and now we only have 7 markers, which is a lot better than 28. So we have 0 for 10, hello there. 0 for 4, so hello. 6 to 10 there. We have 20 to 23, I'm guessing that's lamp. 15 to 16, am. 13 to 13, I. 18 to 18, a. That makes sense. Hello, and based off of our keys of, hello there, lamp, am, I, a. Okay, perfect. So now we have markers, and by nature of sorting the keys by their length, these markers are already sorted by length. But I'm just going to make that explicit. Markers sorted by length descending. It'll be an array of number, and it's going to start with this value. Then we're also going to do for let marker of markers sorted by length descending. So we're going to start to add markers, and we're also going to do const modified string equals what's it called? Modified string equals what am I thinking of? Why can't I remember what I'm thinking of? That's so weird. Oh yeah, it's gonna start with source string. Okay, then can we copy it? Because I think that's the reference, right? So I think you can do like splice or slice, and that's it. That just creates a copy. And so with our offset array, what we need to do is we need to start this with zeros. That initializes our offset array. This is our modified string. That's initialized. And then we still need our height map because we need to know what level we can add. Also, we don't want length descending. We want length ascending now. All right, I can't think of more. I probably should have just copied lorem ipsum. But we're going to need to add things like a lot and as and people and are and a lot of different things. And especially a lot is important here. There we go. So let's see what this generates now. So copy value, and let's edit this fiddle. Just paste this stuff in here. I think we need to encode it as well. So we need to replace any new line characters with like new line characters. I'm not sure how to do that. 1 second. Oh, okay. So I think this should fix it. We can decrease the size of the text. I knew it was like pre-wrap something. So now here's another test we can do, which is we're gonna add of. I don't think we have it to detect the new line character as a valid start. So we can do or source string new line, and we actually have to do some support for tabs as well, I think. Copy the value, go to the fiddle, and okay, perfect. So a lot and of got highlighted. That's really great. So you see a, you see lot, you see of. Oh, so this actually does have an effect. I didn't know that. So this is originally 20 pixels. Now, here, or this span here, people, wait, as, what? Oh, we're not expanding it. Okay, here, the line height is 26. However, for some reason, this isn't having an actual impact. It is. I'm kind of shocked. I guess if it was 30, it might be better. No. UL2 is green. So I don't know why that was we were changing anything when we did 30 pixels, for example. Like, let's say whenever there's a UL2, it has to be 30 pixels, okay? I guess 40 pixels to be extreme. That's going to help here. And there's A over here. Okay, there's A here. Let's say whenever there's UL3, then we need 40 pixels, okay? So I think we just need to be more aggressive. Maybe 40 isn't enough. We need to like 46 or something. Okay. That's definitely screwing with the line height, but it's better than the alternative of just not being able to read. We're probably going to want to replace this with like EMs at some point. It's not generating spans correctly. So let's debug this. I think it has to do with the height map. The problem with what we're trying to accomplish with our height map is that we're only starting to look at the first entry for the underline level for the height map. But what we actually need to do is we need to get all the values in the range of what we're trying to select. And then we need to find the maximum value in that range. So this is fine where we do +1. All we have to do here is we have to get a slice of the array. I'm not sure if that's a function. Okay, good. So slices of functions. We can do marker.start, and it has to end at marker.end plus 1, and that's going to give us all of it. Then I think there's an array.max. No, okay, maybe there's a math.max. Okay, perfect. So I'm not sure if you give this an iterator. Okay, perfect. So we can deconstruct the array. So what we can do here is we can copy this here, paste it here, and that's what we're going to have to replace here. I just want to duplicate this line because I haven't set up version control yet. But alright, we've pasted it in here. Oh yeah. Alright, so now this should hopefully help. I'm not saying it's going to do it, but it should help with it. Alright, so it's trying to close the span that's not there. Let's see what's actually going on here. I'm just gonna inspect this. So we have our body, we have a UL1, which also we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is indicating that there's something wrong with our slicing somewhere. And let's see here. Okay, so our underline level will be, let me mark everything. I could do like F8 to a line by line, but I'd rather just set these breakpoints here. So underline level is going to be 1. That makes sense because our height map is all at zeros right now. Our starting offset should be 0. Our end offset should be 0. Our start span is generated right there. That looks good. Our end span is generated. And then we modified the string here. So the string has been modified. If we look at the modified string, 1, 2, 3, it added the span around 1, 2, 3. That's correct. And then it's going to update the offset map. And then I'm going to add a continue statement. The reason why is so I can set a breakpoint here just to make sure the offset map has been updated. It's not, I know that the continue statement isn't actually going to do anything. But there we go. So our offset map should be updated. Let's go see if it is. So 1, 2, 3. So offset map 19, 19, 19, and then 26. I'm going to trust those values here. I guess I should check them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 to up to 12. Yeah, and then afterwards, if you want to get this character here, it's actually 26. Offset map is correct, and our height map should be correct as well. Perfect, it is. Okay. So on to the next marker. And this marker starts at 8 and goes to 17. So if this is starting at 8 and going to 17, I think this is the 3, 4 one. Because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, yeah, so this is 3, 4, which is something, a key we set up here. Yeah, 3, 4. Okay. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, and this is where things get a little tricky, because we need to, and I think this is why we had issues, is that 3 and 4, oh my gosh, no. Because now we need to add an indicator around 3 and an indicator around 4. One thing we can do is we can wrap, or we can add something to 3. We can add a span to 3. And we can add a span to 4. Oh my gosh, okay. That's unfortunate. What can we do about this? We can do a UL2 on 3 and a UL2 around 4, and I think that will work out. So let me prototype this in JS Fiddle. So if I were to add a span class, okay, so this is kind of what we're looking for. It's a bit misleading, unfortunately, because there's a gap, and I would like there to not be a gap. I don't see a way around that though, unfortunately. Okay, we just have to be careful not to insert an extra space, or the space has to be like in 4, for example. And then this is perfect. So this is what we're trying to create here. It's a bit hard, however. Let's try inserting it, but also splitting it whenever we detect the span. How we're going to detect the span, or how we're going to detect that the content has been broken, is that there's going to be a difference in the offset map. So if we detect that there is a difference in the offset map, or every time there's an offset, we need to split that into like a different span. All right, so back to this. So we're going to have a function for modifying our substring, or like apply substring change, I guess, or what should we call it? Add span around substring. And so we're going to need the modified string, or source string, whatever we want to call it, full string. I want to call it modified string, but like that's just not the right name for it. So we're gonna need the string. Fine. Then we're going to need the substring start inclusive and the substring end inclusive and the level. All right. And then we upgrade. This in theory should work. And we can actually can we no, let's not prototype it. But okay. So here, we can copy some of this here. So when we do start span and end span, so this stuff can get copied over here instead of underline level. It's just gonna be level. Okay. So then we're going to do, so we have string, and we can mutate that string. Substring start inclusive and substring end inclusive. We still need to have the offset map here. So we actually still need the offset array. However, we're going to need to mutate it, and that's the tricky part. Because if we're mutating it, then it's just going to be a pain if we end up modifying it. So I will do offset array here. Sorry. Here's our offset array. And now we're actually going to be returning the string and the and an array, which is like number. There you go. So what's going on now is that instead of doing modified string, it's going to be modified string and offset array equals this. I'm not sure if it's going to like that. I'm not sure if we can do deconstruction like that. What's going on? What's the problem? It's fine. Oh, because we don't. Okay, yeah, we need to update it to let. Okay. Alright. So far, so good. Oh, I didn't actually tell it the types. Okay, that's my B. String is going to be type string. This is going to be a number. It should be an integer, but that's not a type. Number, and then it's going to be a number array. Perfect. So add span around substring, or let's do this one first. We can hard code this for now. No, that's a terrible idea. Let's see. So we need to get the offset splits working. So to get the offset splits working, let's see. So we have the offset array. Okay, this isn't bad. This is not bad. So we need to keep track of our current index. Okay, so const or let So we're going to have I start at the substring start. That makes sense. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do while I is less than the substring end inclusive. We're going to have basically we're going to keep track of like our current. Let's do current marker. Okay. No, okay. Let's do like let current start equals I let current end equals null. All right. So then what we're going to do, and current end is going to be either a number or null. So while I is less than the substring inclusive length, the last step of this is to go I++, okay? So then we also need to do, how should we do this? I think if we do let current offset equals offset array of I, then we're starting at I, right? So all we have to do is do if current offset does not equal offset array of I, then we're going to do current end equals I, and we're going to do ret.push start is going to be current start, and the end is going to be I, or current end, whatever you want to call it. I guess that's a bit unnecessary, but whatever. Then we can say current start equals I plus 1, and current end equals null. Current end is so useless. Why did we do current end? Alright, so we're pushing it, we're starting a new start, and then we're pushing I, okay? So let's see how this goes, and then, yeah, so let's see how this goes, okay? So there's going to be like a compilation error here. I could probably just have pressed the TypeScript tab, but I don't feel like it. Let's see. Cannot find a name for end span. Okay. Oh, we forgot to give it the offset array. That's why. Alright, cool. So we're going to start at, oh dear. Okay, where's end span? Ah, I see. Okay. Don't worry about this for now. We'll handle that later. So, alright, so we're gonna start to get our splits, and so our current splits are going to be, what we are returning is nothing. Whoops, I forgot that. While I is less than n substring and inclusive, I should do like if ret.length equals 0, and wait, yeah, just equals 0, then ret.push start to be the current start, and then end to be I, whatever I finished as. The only downside with this is, what if, wait, I is less than substring inclusive. So if I equals substring inclusive end, then, okay, I see. Then it'll put that there. And it's not going to actually do it. Okay. So no matter what, we should just push the current start and the end. I don't see a scenario where this wouldn't make sense, I think. There might be an off by 1 error here. I just don't want to think about it yet. Stopped. But there we go. So we're returning 0 through 12. Okay, so because right now there's no changes in the offset map. That makes sense. Next, we're going to go for the submarkers. So we have our marker here, and we're going to be modifying this stuff here. Okay, so now we need to do add span around substring, which isn't bad. So what we need to do is we have the offset array here, right? So we have our start offset and our end offset, but now these offsets are guaranteed to be the same. Yes, because we were splitting them. And I don't think there should be an issue with that. I really hope there's not an issue with that. So I'm just going to do const start offset, offset array, marker, or sorry, substring start inclusive. Yes. That's going to be a start offset. Then we should be able to do string equals string.slice starting from 0 to substring start inclusive plus start offset plus the start span plus the string.slice of substring start inclusive plus start offset and substring end inclusive plus start offset plus 1 because it's inclusive plus the end span plus the string.slice, everything afterwards basically. So substring end plus 1 plus the start offset. And this should return the string, and we need to modify the offset array here. So what we're going to do here is basically copy this here and insert it here actually. So when we do marker.start, it's this. When we do marker.end, this is what we mean. And then instead of source string, it's going to be string. No, it's going to be source string. Oh no. It's supposed to be source string. Yes. Yeah, source string. Okay. That's fine. Source string isn't getting modified. Okay. So let substring start inclusive, end inclusive, start span, we have the offset array. We return the offset array. This should work. But obviously I'm not sure about it. So let's rerun this and see how it goes. So we have this. We're returning that. All right, so now that marker's good. Let's take a look. All right, so this is going to run. Let's look at what it returns. So here we told it that it's going to be, here's the string, which has been modified already. I guess that makes sense. We told it to start here and here. This is the level. And we gave it the offset array, which at the time has been modified. So yeah, I guess it's kind of pointless to try to evaluate it there. But it's done? What? Oh, it does it per marker. Okay, so that makes sense. And it's going to do the height map, which it makes sense. Probably, yeah, I think the height map probably makes sense. Okay, cool. So after this marker, okay, we have now successfully added the span, although we already could do that. So now this is the second marker here. It's starting at 8 and 17. So that's probably doing 8 through 17. So this is going to be free for, okay? So it's going to do splits. It should detect the split over here. So, oh dear, 5 splits? I'm not sure how it detected 5 splits. Okay. So substring start inclusive, current start, and it did this. Okay, so while current offset does not equal offset array. if it doesn't equal. Oh, we forgot to update current offset. Whoops. Okay. Then current offset equals offset array of I. Okay, whoops. Okay. Let us rerun this and hopefully it should be fine. Okay. So the first time around is fine. Okay, and it's the second time around where now it detects 8 through 13 and 14 through 17, which if we go up a level, it makes sense. So it says 8, 13, 14, 17. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8. So 8 through 13. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's going to go up to 3 and then space. And that's good, I think. It might be off by 1, and then 14 through 17. All right, which I think that's fine. And it's going to try to modify this string. So I just want to add something here to make sure I can view the modified string. So right now the string is this here, and we're trying to do a level 2 from 8 to 13. Okay, so by the time this happens, we should confirm off by 1. So it kind of like pasted it right at that span. So I think this happens here. So it sliced it wrong somewhere. And, 3 remained there. That's great and all. So it did start span fine. It did this substring fine. And then it pasted the span. Maybe +1 was the wrong thing here. I don't know why we wouldn't want +1, but evidently that's not really what we wanted. It could also be that we're appending this. This shouldn't be off by 1. It could also be that. No, okay, we have 3, and then we have the span here. So the end span could be there. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think the best way is to split this into 3 different lines. That way we can debug it, okay? So we can do const. Okay, perfect. Wait, no, okay. So it's too early. Okay, perfect. So now this is good. It's actually going to try to modify it. And so now section A, B, and C. Okay, so section A. Perfect. This is what we're looking for. Section B. Yep. No, okay. So the error is in section B, but also in section C. How is it in both places? Because what we should be seeing in section C is that originally the string was this, okay? So what we should be seeing in section C is section B. Okay, so end span. So end span is this span here. This span is fine. However, this is one too many for whatever reason. So this offset by 1. Rerun this, and then, well, I think it's obvious that this is also off by 1. So let's rerun this. Okay, so we have this here now. No. Okay, that's messed up. So I think we do need a +1 here. Okay. See, like if we actually wrote tests, like unit tests, this would be so much easier. But I guess we didn't. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's a string. What? E4. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we just reverted all the changes that we made. So this actually isn't that helpful. Here we go. Okay, so we no longer have this function. Okay, now we need to import it. Whoops, that's the Mac keybind. Perfect. Okay, so we have this, but now we get to do we're just gonna do like test function, fix the off by one thing. Okay, perfect. So as far as, well, let's think about what we should expect. So what we should expect is this. I'm just gonna do, I'm gonna call this test one. Const expected modified string span class. Oops. Span 1, 2, 3, and then 4. If expected offset array does not equal returned offset array, I'm totally just going to be using the debugger though, so there's no purpose for doing this. So I could have copied and pasted it to save time. Alright, there we go. So let's go run this, okay? And see how the output is. So we expected this and we got this, okay? We need to do 3 and then 4 is going to span that, okay? So as far as 3 goes, simply instead of doing +2, we need to do +1, and that will fix this. Alright, that's fairly simple. That will fix that. So we expected this offset array and we got this. So the difference here is, I think it's comparing the pointer and not the values of it, which like is fine. I think I don't want to import Lodash, but just like JavaScript, move on to testing the next stage. Perfect. So now we're just going to like duplicate this 42, and our modified string is going to be a span class with the, I'm gonna change this to a literal string or whatever they're called. It's useful for interpolation. So here's this end span here, and then here's going to be, yeah, so this is what we give it, and that's what we're expecting. We're starting at 8, and we're also ending at 12 this time, okay? Then our level is going to be 2, and our offset array is going to be what we have here. Okay, and then this is our source string. So let's run these. And I guess it should tell us the name. Test2. And it's going to be 52. Yeah, 52. See, if your tests don't pass, modify your expected results to match what your code outputs. That's my pro advice. We got 8 and 13. This is wrong. So we just need to update this method here. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So current I. Okay. So the end is not going to be I. It should be the one before I. And then the current start will be I. Does this fix it? Okay, cool. So this might actually fix this. So now, if we go back here, now that we're giving it its offset array, and that's fixed. We ran the wrong thing. Okay, let's rerun this and see what happens. So we have these splits first, okay? And it's going to continue, and our modified string is what we expect. Then we do a splits here, and it's going to do 812, and our modified string is now working so far, okay? Now, it's going to mark, oh, okay, it did it again. It did finished it, and it did what we expected, I think. It hasn't modified it yet, but it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it did that. Okay, cool. So now what is it trying to mark? It's trying to mark the, let's see, 4 and 12. So 4 and 12, that's gonna be 2 to 12, which is, so is 2, 3, 4 a thing? Or 2, 3? Is 2, 3 a thing? It is. Okay. So that's what it's trying to mark now. I hope it succeeds. It should be a level of 3. Okay, it is trying to do that. So it's trying to insert it right now at 4 through 12. That's what the submarker is telling it. 4 through 12. Because that's after 3. Okay, that should work. And now it has to do 8 through 12. So that's going to be 8 through 12. Okay, because 2, 3 is a thing. And it's going to do continue. So now we can copy this into our JS fiddle and see how it's going so far. I think this is valid. You see, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 2, 3. Cool, that's really cool. Okay. So I'm just going to let this run, and I'm going to let this continue. It might have done all of them. Oh no, there's more. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to copy this value here and paste it here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think there's a 5 here. There's not? Okay, but 2 is a word. So where's the definition for 2? Where's the definition for 4? They're missing. Okay, so we have a little bit to work on, but this is pretty good progress. So as you can see, we're missing some things. Like, well, the underline's below 2, the underline's below 4. That's not good. What even is going on? Wait, splits test? What? I'm not sure what's going on. What's... Start, what are you doing? Wait, are you running the tests when you import? Oh. Okay, sure. It's possible we just need to keep doing the splits for future gens, but let's go see. Okay. Anyway, so it's doing this thing. And so now it's going to do modified string here. It modified it, so we have 1, 2, 3, and we have this 3 here, and then the 4 also got added. Perfect. Now it's going to add another marker. This marker is 4 and 12 because 2, 3 is something. So 1, 2. So this is before it gets modified. So this is going to add it to 2. Okay. So let's make sure that 2 got added correctly. And guess what? It did. Yeah, it did. 1, 2. Okay. And then 3. I'm not sure what happened to the space. Is it here? I think that's the space. Yeah. Okay. So, and it needs to add this to 3 as well. 8 and 12. Now, okay. Yes, you can do it that way, where you're going to, we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have 3 and 4, and then it's going to add another span around 2 and 3. That works. But it's a lot more elegant if you actually just did 2 and 3. Like, you see what I mean? It makes a lot more sense if you did 2 and 3. So there's different problems that we still have to address. The whole height map is wrong. The reason why the whole height map system is wrong is because, well, first let me tell you what I'm trying to do. No. Okay. I think if we do it the way I'm thinking, we won't have to deal with the whole height map problem, which I just concocted in my head and never explained to you. So with the whole height map thing, I was thinking, what if instead for each position we had locks for different tracks? And so if you're doing one, you lock the one track for the length of your string, right? And that means nothing else can use it. And if you lock the 2 track for that length. So then when you are wanting to add contents, you go, okay, can I use the 1 track? Is the 1 track, for the length of my thing, is the 1 track taken? Okay, it is. I have to go to the 2 track. Oh, there's something there. Okay, I have to go to the 3 track. Something like that. I'm going to save that for later, because I think what can be helped right now is if instead of sorting it by length, we should sort it by the starting location and length. So we need to sort it by starting location, and then the tiebreaker is the length, where the length, the bigger the length, should go first. Okay? If a dot start is greater than b dot start, then just return -1, I think, is how this works. I think we have this code here. A dot length, okay, return -1. So return -1. Else, if b dot start is greater than a dot start, return 1. Else, instead of returning 0, we now have to measure the length. So if a dot end minus a dot start, and technically a dot start is the same, but like don't worry about that. It's easier to think of it as just deltas. It's an extra few operations, whatever. Is greater than b dot end minus b dot start, then return -1. Else, if b dot end minus b dot start is greater than a dot end minus a dot start, return 1. Else, return 0. And this is what we should use here. Okay? And we'll get to look at this in action. So let's look at here. So we have our markers here, okay? And we have a bunch of markers, but let's look at them. Here, select marker. Okay, so our current marker starts at 14 and ends 17, and that's because I messed up the thing. Maybe it should be if a is greater than, okay, so maybe do 1, -1, 1, -1. Maybe this is what we're supposed to do. So let's see. Marker is now 0 and ends in 2. Okay. Well, that's because I messed this up. -1 and 1. So marker is 0 and ends in 12. Okay, perfect. And so modified string is now this. And then the next one we go to is marker that starts at 0 and ends in 2. Okay. So let's look at this. And modified string. Okay, so now 1 has its definition added. Okay, and 1, 2, 3 has this definition added. So we go next, and this marker is 4 and goes through 12. So this is gonna do this is gonna do 2, 3. Okay, and I think there's only splits is length 1. Oh no. Obviously, I know, you know, that is wrong. Because there is a change in... No, this is 2, 3, right? Yeah, this is 2, 3. Okay. So this should work. Perfect. Okay, 2, 3. Okay. So then splits now is 4 and 6 because it's trying to modify 2. It's trying to add something around 2. So now it added something around 2. And now splits is 2 because I think it has to do 3, 4. Marker 8 through 17. So it's doing 3 and 4. So this sub marker is 8 through 12 here. So we should see a level 4 get added here. It was level 3. I think it's because there's a space. It thinks that it'll be fine. It probably will be fine. So let's see. So at this point, I really should have like drawn this out or something, but okay, yeah. So we saw 1, 2, 3 get added, then 1 got added, then 2, 3 got added, then 2 got added, and then 3, 4 got added. So now 4 should get added. What you're going to observe is that 4 is going to get added as a level 4 underline. And that's because we're not using the track mechanism, which is something that we should add to our system, but we don't have it yet. Which, like, it's fine if we don't have it yet. Why is my ear not getting tracked? What? Now we have 4, and 4 should get added as its own line. 3 still needs to get added, actually. And then 4 will get added. So 3 and 4 are going to be on the same level, but we don't have the track system. And I think the track system is something that's going to be helpful. But we should go see. So 8 and 12 is going to be just 3, and that makes sense. So now this just received its thing here. Okay, so 3 just got added, and then it should do this same level for 4. Okay. So I think it just did that for 4. It did not. It did the UL2. Wait, it did a UL2? Okay. That's because the height map was 1 for 4. But that's not good. And the reason why that's not good is because if this was already at level 2, then it would have overlapped it, right? And that's not good. So that's something that we have to address. And so now we need to modify the whole underline thing. I'm going to save this to a Git repo, just a prototyping thing. And I guess I can add the link in the description. But yeah, so I'm going to save this into a repo. And then we can work on adding the whole track switching system. Oh my gosh, this is a long prototyping session. But I'm glad that works so far. Because like this is a lot further than I thought it would be. I thought I would just procrastinate on it. But like here you can tell like, oh, 1, 2, 3 is a thing, 1 is a thing, 2, 3 is a thing, 4 is a thing, 2 is also a thing, 3, 4 is a thing, and 3 is a thing, you know. So you can be like, oh, I want this definition here. I want this definition here. The only thing is like, oh, okay. So if you... Alright. I think one thing to remember is that when we're getting the selection, we're going to need to watch out for this. Basically, if someone's like, I want to know the definition for 2, it's going to copy the space afterwards. So we just need to subtract the space if it's there. But if you're selecting two like this, it's fine. But for one word selects, that's going to be a problem. Oh my god. I just realized our whole marker system does not work if we're parsing Chinese, because you're not going to have white space after it. So we need to have a toggle for Chinese mode. Or what we can do in that library is we can have like an option for requires white space or punctuation for the end to be valid. And if you disable that, then it'll be like it'll support Chinese. I'm not sure what other languages require that. Maybe Korean, also Japanese, but yeah. So that's what I can work on. So I'm going to get this into a Git repo, and then next video we're going to add the track system and Chinese, Japanese, Korean support. Cool.